I'm not sure whether to say good morning or good afternoon. It's high noon here at Team Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Pavilion, and I'd like to wish you all a very warm welcome to our next event. Excuse me, named Building Communities for the Future, How to Ensure the Needs of Young People Are Met. How do we do that? We literally have young people to tell us their lived and expected experience of what's going to be coming up in their lives. And for you, as people here who will share in that and share that journey with them, then I hope you'll find this as informative. My name is Dennis Jones. I'm the leader of Peterborough City Council, and I've always worked with children and young people on and off, mostly in a voluntary capacity, for most of my working life. But the most important element here is these people and yourselves and how we're going to take this forward. What I'd like to do is for the panel to introduce themselves. I'm going to start with you, Alice. Just tell us a little bit about you, your current experience, and what would you like to see out of this event?
My name's Alice. I'm from Barnsley, and I think that public spaces could definitely benefit with more places that could be for young people. I find that when, a lot of times, it's very difficult for young people to try and find those places to hang out, especially with their friends, which can definitely affect stuff like their social life and things like that.
Okay, thank you. Izzy.
Thanks. My name's Izzy, and I'm from the Wirral. And ultimately, I just want to see young people get somewhere to go, somewhere that they can feel at home, somewhere they can go to get away from anything that they don't want to be around.
Hiya, I'm Chloe. I'm 18. I'm from Chorley. And I think that young people deserve a place to have the same experiences, not like reliant on money or your family or your upbringing. And I think youth places can really support that.
Hi, my name is Rais. I'm 14. I'm from Bolton, and I think that all young people deserve a chance.
I'm Riley. I'm from Inspire Youth Zone in Chorley. I'm 15, and all young people should have an affordable place to go. Just so they can speak about their feelings or just how the day's been.
I'm pleased you said that. Picking up what Izzy said and what you've said about, because we tend to think the youth clubs of my youth are a lot different from places like the Youth Zone now. And I'm going to pick up on those points a little bit, because it's not just about your physical well-being, it's also about your mental and your emotional well-being. And that's something I really want to tease out. You can probably hear I'm a northerner. Originally from Manchester, I now live in Peterborough. And my ambition is I want to see a youth zone in Peterborough. And that will be the first one in the east of England. They're in London now, and they're mostly concentrated in my native northwest of England. And to give you an example, Ingrid and I went up to Warrington on probably the worst day of the year. And both of us said, we don't need this. We met Hans in Warrington, and we were absolutely blown away. And it's been a big part of what we've been doing since. That's the impact. And if there's one thing that I want to share with you is the impact. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask our panellists, how we're going to run this is we'll have a panel discussion, let these young people speak for themselves, tell you what it means to them. Then we're going to do a brief survey of what you think are the important things. Then we'll tell you what the survey said, and then we'll take questions from the audience. So think of some tricky questions, because if I can't answer them, I'll ask these. Okay? So that's your choice. First of all, Alice, where do you spend most of your free time? You've got a youth zone coming. Where do you spend it now, and what do you anticipate the change will be when yours opens next year?
Yeah. So usually after college, me and my friends will literally just walk around town. We're very broke, so it's difficult to go hang out somewhere, as a lot of the places in Barnsley where you can just sit, they do say like, oh yeah, you've got to buy something, otherwise you've got to get out. So a lot of the time we usually, like in the town centre, there's places that you can sit down, but it's outdoors. So it's not really good if it's raining or if it's winter and it's freezing. But other times we're able to sit in town centre, have a laugh, dance about like we're idiots when it's getting dark. But it would be nice to have a space like a youth zone, which is why I'm very excited that it's actually come in, because now that I'm seeing it actually come into fruition, like we're doing actual things, like we're hiring staff now for it. It's now making me think back to all those times when a youth zone would have benefited my childhood, like how we could have gone and just been like, oh yeah, I'm off to climb on the climbing wall and things like that. It would have been just such a good experience, and I cannot wait for all the young people of the future to get to experience that as they get one in Barnsley.
Thank you. Just, will you pick up on, I know, I don't want to embarrass anybody, but I know even though you haven't had a youth zone, you people may have actually grown up with one per se, you've still got one to come, but you've been a real advocate for this. What got you involved and what is it that's driving you now? Apart from the points you made, yeah.
So, to kind of sum it all up, I had a pretty bad childhood, just with experiences in life that I wouldn't wish on anybody. And so it's made me it's made me want to push for that better quality of life for young people, because I can't go back, I can't change things that happened, but I do want to change things for people in the future so that they don't have to struggle with it on their own like I did. So this youth zone, I think, is going to be a big help, because it's going to put those support systems in for children that might be struggling with things like that. And it's also going to open up that social circle, because the one thing that people don't realise when people are struggling is that your social life kind of goes from this to like this. And it becomes very difficult to try and do it on your own. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for being so honest. I want to pick up with you, Izzy, because you mentioned about that kind of you both talked about that space. Can you develop, because obviously if you tend to think of a youth zone, you think of the youth clubs of, the broken pool table and the tennis table ball. Tell me a bit more about your experience of what's in there, and I'll come to you, Riley, and do the same thing, if I can pick up on that.
So I only started coming to my youth zone when I was 12 and a half. So I spent my childhood without a youth zone. I got involved through one of my friends, but when I started going to the Hive, I spent 6 days there a week. So I would literally go straight after school and spend my weekend there. The only day I didn't go was a Saturday. So I used to spend all the time there, and it built my social life. But at the same time, some of my friends from school would be on the streets at night, and I hated that, because there'd be such bad things that had happened. I didn't want to be involved in any of that. So having my youth zone to go to, it made me feel like I was in a safe space, and it was so easy to get home from there because it's right by the bus station as well. So if I ever wanted to go home early or anything like that, I could just go and get on the bus and go home and still feel safe because I'm around my youth zone.
Wow, hold that thought. Can I come to you, Riley? Have you got just, what Izzy said, just build on that and tell me, and again, when you're in there, where in there is also your safe space, if you like, because there's places within the building itself, isn't there? And I think you mentioned that.
At my youth zone, and at every youth zone, we've all got supporting staff. So you literally could walk up to any staff member and be like, oh, I've had a bad day. They'll talk it out with you. They'll come up with strategies and plans. And then literally, I started my youth zone when I was 8, and I spent like every day in there. I used to go holiday club for the whole of the holidays. My mum used to spend a fortune. But yeah, I really enjoyed my youth zone, as it's opened opportunities to me, such as our board, and yeah.
Thank you. No, that's great. Chloe, just what's your sort of experience? You know, what I want to come across here is if there's people in here thinking, what's it all about? Why are we doing this? Give us your perspective of what you get from it and what you want to see for, you know, as Alice said, for people in the future. Yeah? You know, I mean, I genuinely admire what you're trying to set out to achieve. How do you add that? Just tell us how you would.
So I started going to my youth zone when I was 10, when it first opened, and I'm 18 now. So I started as a junior. It was more of like a fun place to go. You could do all these things that my family couldn't afford, like the music and the climbing wall and all that stuff that I'd never have done before, I did then. And then when I went into seniors, I became a young carer for my mum. So I think the youth zone for me has been like a place to be a teenager still, because I've had to grow up very fast. That's like the one place I can go like, 4 times a week and just be a kid. And I also think a youth zone is like an education away from education. I think they teach you things that you don't learn in school, like skills, you know, new hobbies like music, dancing, climbing, all that stuff you don't do in school. And also like life lessons, like the youth zone's given me a career because now I want to be a youth worker. I wouldn't have wanted to do that if we didn't have a youth zone in Chorley.
If you take what you've just said and everybody in this order, if you unpack that, we could have a day, couldn't we? You know, just about activities, education, and, you know, just being yourself rather than having got personal experience of myself, I get it. You know, coming to you, Race, what's your sort of take on it? Tell us a bit more about your experience of it. Maybe it's aligned to Chloe's or your own. Just tell us what you...
My experience is at my youth zone. So it's old. I started when I was 8 years old. I was a junior, and like Riley, my mum used to spend loads of money in holiday club. My youth zone's opened a lot of opportunities for me, like the board, the President's Cup. Last year, I came to UKREiiF through my youth zone, so a lot of opportunities. It's helped me build upon a lot of things that I'm not too confident on. And I think all youth zones just help a lot of people get through hard times and times where people need to talk to people, because I know that a lot of people don't have that.
Thank you. Just, there's a couple of things you mentioned, I think, Pod and what have you. Just tell everybody a little bit more about what they are, and then think of it in terms, if you were speaking to people of your own age instead of an older audience, not people like me, you know, how would you then relate that to them? Because that's what's coming through. So just some of the things that you're doing and what the benefits are that you find.
So at my youth zone, when I get there, meet my friends, and then tea's usually open at 5:30. Tea's £1.50. You can get from like burgers, chips. They used to do like this, like big, like course. We can get loads of food, but it's usually £1.50. Then 6 till 7, I go and play football, and then I come back up. And sometimes I'll decide to go music. Sorry guys, I've got a bad stutter. And then just chill in the rec. But I think overall it boosts my confidence, and I think it's just one place where I get to be myself, because at home it's just REiiF. I've just got to do what I get told to do. But when I'm at my youth zone, when I'm out with my friends, I'm on my youth zone, it's just be a teenager, do the things that you like to do, and just enjoy life.
Fascinating. Riley, just let me come to you. Do you have a similar experience of being a teenager? You know, this is coming across from, you know, from Chloe and from Race. What's your sort of take on it? You know, how would you sell the benefits to this audience and to people of your age? I'm thinking of going to the youth zone.
So if you was my age and you thought of a youth zone in our local area, many people would be like, oh, it's that place where people with no money go, or it's that place where they don't really benefit from. But there's actually a lot more in there than you actually expect. From like the minute you walk through the door, you've got art, you've got climbing, baking, and yeah, it's opened my opportunities, and it really helped my mental health, speaking to the staff in there and getting me some support for my mental health. Brilliant.
Just, I'm going to come to each of you. If you had a magic wand, okay, just for one moment, you've got a magic wand. You know, you've spoken. Let's start at that end. how would you change spaces for people just outside the youth zone, and then we can relate it to the kind of space that you would like to see for people who are coming in and growing up? What would you change about your city? You know, you said about sitting outside. We know a bit about Barnsley, but the same for you guys now. Just tell us how you would change it and what the youth zone what difference it will make.
If I had a magic wand, I would probably try to make Barnsley a safer feeling place. I feel like a lot of the time it can be quite worrying walking through sometimes because, not to put it down, but Barnsley's kind of known for its druggies. So sometimes it's not necessarily feeling great when you're walking through the town centre and some guy looks like he's off his head in corner. And so, sorry. So I'd probably make sure that there's things like cameras up so that if something does happen, there's somewhere to be able to check what's happened. And honestly, just like more safe places in general, just making sure that people have got somewhere to go if they're feeling worried or scared that someone's like going to come get them or something like that.
So that's great. If there's people in here who maybe have the ability to create those safe spaces, you've mentioned cameras. Is there anything else that either that, you know, in a built environment that you think, not just in the street, but in somewhere like the youth zone, what would you say that will make me feel safe, mentally, emotionally, physically?
Places like, even just the little things, like all the youth zones that I've been to have had security barriers. Someone has had to look at you and let you in. And it just adds that safer aspect to it, knowing that you've got to be checked to not checked, but like they've got to let someone through. It just adds that bit of safety, knowing that like, okay, I'm behind this barrier, no weird people are gonna get in. So adding those extra safety measures and making sure that everything is monitored by CCTV or something along those lines.
Yeah, that's the world we live in. Izzy, you wave your magic wand. Go on.
If I had a magic wand, I think I agree fully, because currently in our youth voice group, in our youth zone, the Hive Ambassadors, we've been looking into the cameras, because we have some cameras around the Wirral, and it's like a help point. So if you click the button, the camera looks down and it looks around the environment that you're in. I think that adds the extra safety measures that Alice was going on about. I think that makes it feel more safe, but at the same time, they're not everywhere.
No.
They are in most areas that are known as the worst areas, but they're not everywhere. So when I'm walking through the town centre in Birkenhead, there's none, and I have to go through that every day to go to college, and it doesn't feel safe at all.
So you just don't feel safe, and so you would help. Okay, I don't know whether you want to pick it up or you, Chloe. What about people? So we're talking about technology. What about when you're in there? Chloe, what's your... You know, is there anything you want to add? You're waving your magic wand. Is there anything you want to add to that or concur, whatever?
I think there should be a greater presence of youth workers. Everyone, adults, seem to talk about get more police out in the streets, but I think teenagers fear police, and actually it just makes them retaliate a lot. So I think our youth don't have a detached service. So the youth workers go out in the streets of Chorley and try and speak to them, engage them, get them to do more positive things instead of just drinking and drugs. I think if there was a greater presence of that, then the young people would feel more safe that aren't into that, and also the people that are doing that would probably be prevented from doing it.
I'm delighted, because I was a detached youth worker, many moons ago. So it's nice to know that I might have done some good somewhere along the line. Race, what do you think? You're very thoughtful, mate. What's your take on it?
If I could shake my magic wand, I would make more places for young people to go to, because in Bolton there's a lot of like teenagers just loitering around the town. And I know there's been times where like me and my mates are in town and like, let's say in a shopping centre. So I think the biggest one in Bolton is called Marketplace. But walking through the Marketplace, right, and security guards are coming to us like, why are you loitering? You've not bought anything. You shouldn't be in here. So personally, I'd make more places where people are allowed to go, where you're allowed to come in and leave when you like. So then it leaves people engaged because they know they're allowed to come in when they want and leave when they want. And also, so it's a place for them to go.
Thank you. Just let me pick up on that. So you're designing a space, okay? What makes it young person friendly? Is it the acceptance? Is it the environment? What is it that would, it's not people coming up to you or the police where they're kind of making you, there's a resentment. Is there anything in that what would make you feel it's safe and cosy and warm and welcoming? You said
maybe just a nice place to just chill with your friends, or a place to watch something, a place to eat, a place to talk. Just a place where you're not going to get publicly invaded by other people and get told to leave.
That's brilliant, because you're nodding. It's great. Okay. Riley, you wave your magic wand. I want to pick up on something with all of you.
So my magic wand would be to have more like youth workers, like what Chloe said. Because in our area, our youth zone is one of the smallest in the onside system. And yes, we have loads of youth workers, but if we had more youth workers, we've had more people coming in and out of our service, out of our zone. Or centre, and it just means more people have the same opportunities me and Chloe and everyone else in our board would have, so just have more youth workers about and like on detach and stuff.
Right, I'm going to go back down the line, okay, and I'm coming to you last because you all have youth zones, so it seems to me that you kind of from being outside and feeling unsafe, you're going into this building. So what does that feel like? Because you've been out on the streets, you're currently still out on the streets, Just tell me briefly what that feels like to know that you've got somewhere to go and somewhere to be you. Yeah? Whatever you're going through. Start with you. Go on.
So at my youth zone, they always make sure you feel welcomed. And then you can just be yourself. So that really helped me through my childhood because I've got really bad medical conditions with my birth. So it's just to be yourself, and everyone's welcoming. And at my youth zone, you can literally speak to anyone. And
Fantastic.
Then, yeah.
Thank you. Rice.
Sorry, what was your question? I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. So you're out on the street.
Okay.
You've got a youth zone. So
Yeah.
how does it make you feel? It's almost like when you get to my age, you talk about blood pressure. Yeah, and you take
Right.
you just take tablets. So but for you, I want somewhere what's like that safe space. You've been out on the street, now you've got somewhere to go. How does that make you feel? I take a tablet for it. What does it make you feel?
It made me feel welcomed, and it'd make me know that I know that I've got a place to go, and not just somewhere on the streets.
Yeah, safe. I don't want to put words in. Safe space, somewhere you
Yeah.
feel safe. Chloe.
I think one of Onside's main slogans is that it's somewhere to go, someone to talk to, and something to do. And I think when you walk in, you just feel that straight away. There's people everywhere you can talk to. There's literally activities in every room to do. And when you walk in, it's just this family feel, I think, where you just feel free to. I think it's important for teenagers to be a teenager, but also under the supervision, so you don't go off the rails.
I think it's a home environment. As soon as you walk into the building, whether you've been there for 8 years or whether it's your first week, you're always welcomed by all the young people and all the staff, and it is such a home environment. When I walk into my youth zone, I've got all my friends walking around, and all of them will come over to you, go, "Hi, Izzy, you okay?" They'll give me a hug, and it's just that friendly environment that makes you want to carry on going. But at the same time, you can feel your comfort there, you can feel your safety.
Brilliant. And you, Yours is yet to come.
Yeah.
How do you feel about what they've said that maps into what you were saying earlier on, Alice? You know, about you want that for people, they're getting it. So tell me what you're going to put. What's your legacy? Go on.
Well, when I first learnt that Barnsley was getting a youth zone, I had no idea what one was. I didn't know about Onside and I didn't know about the youth zones. But now we've been on a few visits to a few youth zones. We've been to a few youth zones as well. And I am so excited. It is mint. It is one of the best, like, it's some of the best experiences that I've had. Like, I went to Warrington and the way that they just didn't even care that, like, I wasn't from there. Like, people were saying hi, people were talking.
Even though you got a funny accent.
It's fine, I was talking to someone with a funnier accent. But yeah, it just gets me... it makes me really happy thinking about it. And the fact that a few weeks ago, I actually was inside the building. Like, it's completely empty, but, like, there's walls and stuff. And I went in and I had this massive smile on my face. And I was like, it's a thing. It's here. And it just makes me really happy for all the young people that are going to get to go to it in the future, because it's just going to be amazing.
Thank you. I'm just good. You now you can't do this yet because yours is yet to come. But I'm going to come back down the line, giving me your experience of your own youth zones. Is there anything that can be done to make it a bit safer, a bit better, more of something or whatever? What's your dream and what's your reality of where you are? You know, so we've got that sort of mental, emotional safety. What about the facilities? What do you feel is either not enough of or whatever? What do you want to see first of all, you know, that you think will make it right for you? And then you've got your lived experience. Start with you. Go on.
Can you repeat the question? I got a bit confused.
No, it's okay. Yours is yet to come. So what do you want to see in it? Okay, you've been to other places and somebody says, there's your list. Put the stuff down you want. What do you want to see in it? And then I'll come to these. Go.
So I want to make sure that it's engaging. There's no point having a youth zone if people are going to sit around for 5 hours. It's got to have activities that are going to pull you in. It's got to have days that are going to be special, like a movie night, or I had an idea, but I forgot it. So yeah, days like movie nights, those special days where you just get to come in like it's a normal day, but you get to be excited for it, and that'll keep people coming. It'll keep them engaged, and it'll just make their quality of life that much better, which is what I'm hoping from my youth zone.
Fantastic. Thank you. Chloe. Oh, sorry, Izzy. I'm just sorry. I'm jumping.
It's okay.
Sorry.
I want to jump on to what Alice said about the days. When we have like a themed session, I think that makes it like incredible. And they change up your session, so it's not just the same sessions. Obviously we have different activities on each session, but my session tends to run the same because of how I have my session laid out, because I have ambassadors at the start, then I go to do a bit of coursework in one of the rooms, and then I spend a little bit of time with each of my friends, and then at the end of the night I go and we have something called UKREiiF, which is where we just party with all these like different songs, playing with all my friends. So I tend to have it all laid out, but it's nice to sometimes have those like themed sessions to do that type of stuff. So we've had roller skates and everything. We've had donkeys, we've had cars. You know, it's great. But something that I think needs a little bit of improvement on our youth zone, which has been going on for a while, is the sports facilities. We have got somebody who is qualified to use our sports rooms, but she doesn't work all the time.
Right.
So I think it's struggling because our sports staff, they don't have that qualification, and not many people do, and it's very hard to find somebody with that.
Okay, so is it the facility or the people to help you use that facility? What's it? Would you change the facility?
No, it's the people, because
Right.
we've got the facility and it's incredible. Our gym and boxing ring is absolutely sensational, but we've only got one person who's qualified to use it over about 7 or 8 sessions.
Right. Okay. So that's one thing. My boxing career lasted one punch. Somebody hit me on the nose, and that was it. That was it. Thanks, Chloe.
For my youth zone, I wouldn't change anything about the facilities. I think they're really good. Like, we have got the smallest youth zone in the network, but it's only in Chorley. Like, I think it's brilliant for.
So you make it bigger.
Town.
You make it bigger.
Well, yeah. But I think the facilities are brilliant. But I think if I could change one thing, it would be like the youth voice element of our youth zone. At the moment, it's very like divided, like there's staff and there's kids. But I think their strategy for the next 3 years is to make it very much like youth led, so that it's what we really want. So the activities, even though they're great, are more what we want and what we need.
Fantastic. Thank you. Race.
My dream for my youth zone would be definitely more staff, because the reality right now is that there's no one running the boxing. There's only 2 members for football. There's 1 member for basketball. Art's barely open. Music's never open. Rec's always full, but no one really uses the rec. Everyone just comes for the sport.
But the facility,
Yeah.
so you've got the facilities, and I'll come to you in a second, Riley. It's now facilitating the facility.
Yeah, it's just staff.
keep it down. Okay, great. Hold that thought. Riley, you come to you.
I completely agree with what Izzy and Raisa said. We have all the facilities, even though mine and Chloe's youth zone is the smallest youth zone. But it's just having the staff to open those.
Do you know there's jobs for you lot here? You know that, don't you? You can see it coming. Go on, sorry.
So it's just knowing that, like, there's all these opportunities you could do, but
Brilliant.
there's just no staff for that opportunity.
Okay. So essentially, I mean, you've all talked about hanging around on the streets. So one of the things you've got is, okay, you feel safe, you feel wanted, you've got that, space. What I liked, and I think Ingrid was the same thing with me, is when people were in that environment, what you got is you felt there were places to go where you could recharge your batteries, and then sometimes you just want to, do boxing or something like that. So if we get that bit right, everything, all the ingredients are there. We just need to get, do a bit more with staff and people like that. So this is great. Okay, thank you. Any final thoughts that you want to add? Let's just go back down and then we'll throw it open to the survey. Anything?
So part of my college course, I do childcare, which is birth to 19. And an interesting study that I thought I'd just bring up. There is a thing in schools called a key person, where one person will have like 3 children to engage with and make sure that they're learning. That has shown to have more impact on those children rather than if one teacher had like 33, which is why as you go further down in school, you'll find more staff. And I believe that if we had more staff in youth zones, then people will be able to create those connections and those relationships with their youth workers. And then they would be able to improve on themselves if they had that stronger bond with one youth worker. Because I know that quite a few stories that I've heard from people who have youth zones is that they often talk about a key worker that's helped them or a key worker that's worked with them quite intensely. And I always found that to be quite interesting. So
Brilliant. Okay. So anything on these people, we'll look at the staff, we'll look what's to come. Is there anything in the environment that that we could do building wise? If somebody was saying, actually, I want to build one of these things, what would you recommend? Is there anything in there that you want to add to what you've said already? You're not hanging around the town centre. You've got somewhere to go. if you were investing in one of these things, what kind of things do you want to see? Let's design the place of the future with you and your kids and your kids' kids in mind. Go on.
I need the mic. I'm not going to lie, I'm a bit speechless. I don't really know what to say now. It's trying to think of it is there's the fact that we need these youth zones. We need them for the young people because there's me and Chelsea were talking about this on the train. There's so many young people that don't know that these youth zones are a thing. They don't know they're here. In my job, I told my co-workers about it for the first time like 2 months ago, and they had no idea what it was. And this is why we kind of need them more. And I think it's not things in it that we need. I think we just need them in general.
Okay.
And sometimes you will struggle with the facilities and stuff like that, but that's always going to come. Obviously, it's not ideal, but at the same time, we need them more.
Brilliant. Thank you. Chloe, anything?
I think that the facilities are great. Like, you know, you're talking about fancy boxing gym and a massive sports hall. Like, that's all great. But when I think about how the youth zones help me, the most times they've helped me is sat in a room with one staff member or sat in a room that's empty with all my friends, just having a good conversation, like listening to music. Like, I don't think you need all the fancy stuff. It's great to give people opportunities, but it's not a necessity. I think it's better to have just a place that's warm and safe with staff to speak to is more important than spending loads of money and having a massive fancy gym.
Incredibly revealing. Rice.
If there's one thing that I'd put in a new youth zone, it'd be like all the facilities, but that comes with it anyways. More staff, so like additional staff.
So that you're happy with what's in there?
I'm happy with whatever's in it.
Yeah,
More
the
staff.
box is great, everything that's in it, but, you know, it's that. Anything to add, Riley? Anything, you know, that you'd like to see personally?
If any of you guys ever have the opportunity to just like walk into any of our centres, you'd all feel the same feeling as what we feel. So for my future and what I hope is that it doesn't change the feeling of you feeling welcomed, you feel just excited to go.
Brilliant.
I'm literally sit there watching the clock, waiting for that time where I can go in.
Amazing. Right. Okay. Thank you. Stay there. We haven't done yet. What we're going to do now is we're going to turn it over to you. Phil, where are you? There.
We're on screen.
We're on the screen. Right. Get your phones out. Come on. This is when I used to teach at the college. Get your phones out, scan the QR code and put in what makes space accessible to young people. Just give you a few minutes to do that. So go on there, just put your keywords and then it'll come up as a word cloud later. And then we'll compare it with the survey. So have a look. Do that small thing.
If anyone's struggling with the QR code, you can just go to menti.com and type in the 8 digits there.
Yeah, sorry, if you can't hear, Phil. If the QR code isn't working for you for any reason, 3wsmenti.com and then type in 64571174 and that takes you in. The Wi-Fi should be pretty good, so just go in there. And I'll give you just a couple of minutes to have a think about the keywords that you would put in there. Then we'll compare it with what young people said. I think we've heard a lot of it here, but let's see what everybody else said. What makes spaces safe and accessible for young people?
Guys, can you see on the screen what's coming up?
Phil, is this from... This is coming up now, is it? This is all new technology for me.
Live results from the audience.
Right, okay. The survey said. Wow.
Are they on the money? Is it looking good?
It's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting. Yeah. Look at support. 8 moved. 8 moved. You know, once you've invested, it's investing not just your money, but the time into what these places actually mean. Support hasn't moved.
I think the ones in the middle are...
Go on, speak in the mic. Go on.
the middle ones are like more people have put that one,
Yeah.
whereas the outside are more like
Yeah, that's right.
one.
Yeah, and support hasn't moved. What have you all been? So this is what these people are saying. It's exactly what you're saying, and I'm guessing when we come to do the survey, you are reflecting exactly what it's needed and what we want to see. When I went to Warrington, I was, and Ingrid and I, we're both hard-bitten professionals, and we took a picture of the outside of the building. You don't do that. That's what tourists do. But and when we got inside, we shared. You're just blown away, aren't you? Just by what's in there, and that's. Are we done? Do you think we've done it? Yeah, we'll go to the next screen. Right. Young people told us. There you go. Free or cheap entry. How much is it, Phil? 50 pence. And it's been that way for?
At least 10 years.
At least 10 years. So when you talk about good value 10 years ago, incredible value now, and it is somewhere. You didn't even mention it. You just pay it, don't you? It's 50p. Yeah? I didn't bring it up for the simple reason none of you mentioned it as being a barrier. Yeah? Food and drink available. Okay. How much is it?
Normally £1 a meal.
£1, £1.50. Again, you didn't. Sorry?
It's usually free.
Good. Yeah.
Like if you're struggling to pay the 50p, I know that sounds stupid, but to some people,
It's not stupid.
Yeah. Like,
Sadly, it's not stupid.
Yeah, they will try and make provisions for people that are struggling with money, so they'll give you the free food, drink, travel to get there, the money to come in.
Yeah, and again, it's not about we're trying to lower barriers. We're not trying to put barriers there. You didn't mention the entry price. You didn't mention the food and drink. It's there. Wi-Fi. Okay, who isn't Wi-Fi? We're all using it in here. It's it's one of the key utilities these days, so it's got to be there. Open access, free to come and go. I think you've actually said that, haven't you? It is that, that use of the space. Comfy seating. Do you get comfy seating? Yeah. Yeah? Which spaces are the most comfortable? The bits that I found was the kind of chill out when we were in there. You can climb up a wall. Okay, you can climb up a wall. But sometimes you just go in there and sitting on a big mat. And I'm not sure if it was, you said you just want to sit in there, either on your own or with somebody else. Yeah? And it's comfortable, isn't it? I could spend hours in there, but a separate story. Don't necessarily need activities, just places to socialise. All of you have said that, haven't you? So, it's reflective of it. Calm, uplifting, inspiring, on trend. What does on trend mean, Alice? What's on trend mean to you? Go on then.
I've got a really good idea on this. Our youth workers make TikToks with us.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the they're doing things that we do now, so they're fitting in with us with the latest I don't want to say trends, but it is. So I'm a big TikTok user. I'm not gonna lie. I love sitting there on TikTok scrolling all the time. And one of our youth workers, who's she's our youth voice coordinator, and she's the rec coordinator as well, so she's always on rec. She's always doing something, and she will put TikToks up on the screen for us all to do.
Wow.
And we will all just stand there and do them, no matter whether it's an 18-year-old or a 13-year-old. All of us will stand there and do it. It's the same for Just Dance as well. That's a big one.
Right, to people of anything like my age, did that sound like King Chong Ha? Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Izzy. I really appreciate that. I hope they did as well. I get it, basically. Anything, Chloe, you want to add or,
I think they make the activities tailored to us as much as they can, even if they don't understand them. We sort of explain it to them sometimes. They do popular things. They also are really good at doing things that are current. So at Christmas we'll have a Christmas party, or say it's how do I explain it? Bonfire night, we'll do a bonfire night.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, I think is really good.
Themed. Okay. Have either of you got any? Don't let me put you on the spot, because I'm going to ask these people to put you on the spot now. Questions from the audience. You've seen this. Have we done such a brilliant job that you don't need to ask any questions? Or, Madame?
Yeah, I don't actually have too many questions, but I just wanted to say a big congratulations to each and every one of you for stepping up and speaking and sharing. Alice, you shared really personally about trying to make things better for the next generation. I love the fact that, you, Chloe, I think have... to move the names. I think as Chloe said, you wanted to be a youth worker as a result of this. Hopefully you'll all be continuing to contributing through your board. So I just wanted to give you a big shout out to all of you for, doing what I know people find really terrifying, public speaking, and you've all done it so well. And I think it just helped everyone who's thinking about how to bring youth zones or youth spaces into other areas like Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. You're helping us a lot to understand what works and what you need and how we can make it a success. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. Thank you.
Can I jump on what she said for a second? Am I okay to jump on to what she said for a second? Is that okay?
Of course you can.
I don't think any of us would have been able to speak up here without our youth zones. When I started my youth zone, I was not confident at all, and I would not be able to get up and speak in front of 3 people, let alone I've done over 150 before. So I think it's important for you guys to know that we wouldn't have been able to do this without our youth zones.
I want to give a big shout out to Hans and his colleague here, because it was Warrington that we visited, and I forget the young lady's name, but she said more or less the same thing. Do you remember? She was saying how it just helped her to flourish. It had. And, what you've said is, you couldn't possibly have spoken to each other, but the commonality of the themes. Anybody else want to add anything to that? Are you happy with what you've heard? Let me ask the audience a question. We want a youth zone in Peterborough. This is a naked plug because, I've seen it, I've heard it, Ingrid's given me some things that I've got to read out now. So it's a unique opportunity for businesses to invest. I was going to make it up, but I think what you've written is brilliant. I'll just read it out, Through UKREiiF and targeted outreach, we're actively connecting with businesses that want to make a lasting impact. It may be you, it may be people you know, but that's the future. Private investors can help delivering life-changing opportunities. Is anybody here who hasn't seen this? Is changing people's lives and the impact it has. Youth zones bring around 70 youth workers. You wish you want a few more, yeah? But, the reality is that this is something that we can thrive on. Supporting thousands of young people, changing lives, building confidence. Capital costs. We're probably looking about £12 million. We need private investment. Councils just can't do that kind of thing anymore. If you know people... Is there anybody here who's got any ideas of how we can do this? Because we found a site, haven't we, Ingrid? We found a site, we found a brilliant... we had one 4 years ago, Phil, wasn't right. It wasn't the right one. It's taken us a while. Now we have. And we really want to move forward with this. Early investment unlocks momentum and credibility. Early backers play a pivotal role in providing the project's viability. And if there's one word I just want to, is impact. Is there anybody up here who hasn't made an impact on what we've seen and heard today? Honestly? And I do appreciate what you've said about these, and you're going to have an enormous round of applause towards, when we get to the end of this. But we need strong public engagement, cross-sector backing, and what we're going to do is do far more consultation with schools, youth councils, but honestly, the lived experience and the future experience of these people just speaks for itself, and I think the enthusiasm we have for it is just second to none. Phil, do you want to come up and say a few words? Yeah, please, and then you're going to tie the thread. This guy's going to tie the thread. Get the amateur off, get the professional on.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, by the way. That was great. Are there any other questions from the audience just before I tie it up? Yeah, I've got a question at the back there.
I'm bad at my job. Right.
Super inspiring, and I'm really,
really quite emotional, actually, because it's really impactful. I have a 13 and a 15-year-old, and I'm always trying to encourage them to get involved in my local community. So can you give me a few words where I don't sound like an old mum that might inspire Mighty to get involved?
I'm pleased you asked that question.
You'll make friendships for life. I met my best friend in my youth zone, and I don't think I could imagine my life without her. That, honestly, I know it does sound really cheesy, but you'll make friends for life. And when you age out of your youth zone, you'll still carry on speaking to them, because it's not something that you're forced to go to, like school, where you're making them friends. You're choosing to go, and when you go and you make them friends and you enjoy going, it keeps you going there. Plus, it's quite affordable. It is affordable, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I pay for myself because I have a job, so I pay to go in, and I can afford it. I'm very lucky to be able to, but I can go in there knowing that if I wasn't able to afford it, they'd accommodate for me as well, and they'd help support me.
Anyone else want to add any pearls of wisdom?
So I think you should just get your children in there. As soon as you shove them in, there's literally... No, genuinely, this is what happened to me. Well, you know what I mean. As soon as you put them in there, they'll find whatever they like to do. They've got football, gym, music, whatever they like, they've got. So just put them in there, and then they'll meet their friends, as Izzy said. So, yeah, you should just put them in.
They'll be fine.
Anybody else? Just literally, Alice, what's your take on it? Answer just those few words that you think. What are you looking forward to?
A bit like Riley, I'd just tell them to go for it. Like, you can't, and I've said this quite a few times when I've been talking to people about youth zones, you can't describe them. They're magnificent in a way that if someone asks you, what can you do in a youth zone? Everything. Pretty much everything. When people ask about, like, what's going to be happening with my youth zone, I'll say everything apart from an ice rink and a pool. Because that's literally the only thing that comes to mind, because there's that much that you can do. Like, even in just the rec room, you can do stuff like drawing on some paper on the floor, which I saw at Warrington. You can play pool, you can play darts, like, there's card games, like, it's shocking how much that they can do. So, yeah, like Riley said, get them to go in once, maybe twice, because they might be a bit shy the first time, but get them to go in, have a go, and see what it's like.
Thanks, Alice. Ray's, I think you had something to add, but as well as the youth zone, kind of your role on the Youth Advisory Board as well, and what you get out of that would be really useful to hear.
I would say to your children, this is just very straightforward. I'd just say, don't be boring, get there and stop being lazy. Because that's just...
I'm not sure that's what you wanted to hear.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so that's what I'd say.
Thanks very much. So it was really great to hear you say so clearly, in terms of what you get out of the youth zone. It's probably more about the relationships that you build inside than the physical space, because we hear that time and time again. And we did an exercise recently where we were looking at developing a half-size facility designed for smaller populations, designed for towns rather than cities. And it was very difficult to get our heads in a space where we were comfortable in any kind of compromise whatsoever. And so we had a big, long conversation with lots of young people already accessing those spaces about which were the most important spaces, which they valued most. But a clear theme from that research was it is those relationships inside the building that make the difference. But I do think, and I have to say this because it's my job at Onside to bring forward new projects, I do think the youth zone itself is hugely important in our model. It's important because we need something big and shiny and impressive to engage the private sector in order to harness that level of philanthropy that makes it possible. And I'm looking at Claire now at the back, my colleague, but something like 180 million I think we've harnessed in the last 15 years to make our 15 live projects possible. But I also think it's super important to have something of that level of quality, that kind of world-class facility, in order to get young people out of their bedrooms. Because our biggest competition is a smartphone. And it's no wonder that young people are in their bedrooms. It's no wonder that isolation, that loneliness, that anxiety is through the roof, that we have a huge prevalence of poor mental health, because we've taken away all the spaces that young people can go in their spare time. We've closed all the youth clubs. We've taken away the ability for young people to engage in extracurricular stuff because it's not affordable. So young people have nowhere else to go but their bedrooms. And so we need to have these amazing spaces. We need to give young people the best in order for young people to be able to step out of their comfort zone and come and benefit.
Phil, can I just bring in a fellow politico and a professional? Hans, do you want to...
Yes, thank you. It's Hans Mundy, the leader of Warrington Borough Council, but I also work for Lancashire Youth Service. So that's the thing there. What I've sort of seen from today is, or over many years, is the informal education that young people get working with youth workers, which is invaluable. But what people don't probably realise, that develops the next generation, the next society, comes from what work happens with young people. So you'll be shaping society going forward. And if we give a positive experience at this age, you'll be giving other people positive experience going forward. I think where he's leading to is it does need funding, it does need revenue funding, and we do need, as I say, we do need to employ youth workers. That costs money, and that's where it comes down to is the miniature private businesses and the philanthropists is making sure that they support the next generation and the next generation of society. It will be worthwhile. So it's a really worthwhile investment, invest in people as well as the buildings. But I think the biggest investment is in young people and making sure they get the best experience they can take on to their adult life.
We haven't colluded on that, have we, Hans? No, honestly, because I'm going to give... Is any final... We've got 5 minutes left. We've got all of a sudden 2 questions. Sir.
Hi, just a quick one. I'm the founder of the Light Cinemas, and 2 of you are in in my early towns, Bolton and Wirral. We've advanced a lot more than that. We're now putting in bowling and lots of other things in our latest cinemas. But the question I've got is, what can cinemas do nationwide? What can cinemas do to make those more engaging and more affordable and approachable to you guys? Thanks.
Okay, and this young lady here also wants to ask you. Can you ask your question? We're very close to time. Can you ask your question, and then maybe we can just top and tail with those.
Hi guys, I'm Praise. I'm a member of Regeneration Brainery. I just wanted to ask a question. You mentioned, don't know your name, the girl in the middle, about how you said that the youth zones, they offer like activities that school doesn't, and I'm just wondering, is there a way that schools can partner with youth zones so that they can kind of encourage young people to like want to join youth zones and come to them?
So excellent questions. Literally, I'm going to say schools, cinemas. Quick summary from each of you. Yeah, Alice.
I think cinemas could possibly do with like re-renovating. We've got one in Barnsley. It looks old. The seats aren't comfy, and a lot of the films that are on are like for old people.
Thanks. It's okay. Non-taken.
It's either old people or babies. Like there's not a lot that's for.
And what about schools? I get you. What about schools? I'm just running out of time. That's all. I'm sorry.
Schools could partner with youth zones in a way that's like an after-school program. So schools could possibly work on maybe funding youth zone visits, possibly working with youth zones to make an after-school club at the youth zone, possibly.
Okay. Anything just to top up from that?
Yeah. With the schools one, we have some of our youth workers actually go into schools and work with some of our young people. I can't remember what the project was called, but it was to do with well-being, to help the young people boost their well-being. You could do something like that, but do it with just general activities, but make it educational based as well.
Okay. Chloe?
I think for cinemas, like student pricing and teenage pricing is important, because I can't pay the same price as a 30-year-old with a full-time job. That's just not possible.
Brilliant.
And for schools, I think like youth workers could run their extracurricular program, because then the students would get to know the youth workers. Then they might be more interested in going to the youth zone, and also they might be more interested in joining the clubs when they might not if it's their school teachers, because it's a more comfortable relationship.
Okay, thank you. Race, anything to add to that?
For the cinemas, I agree with Chloe. Cheaper prices and maybe more screens and a different selection of movies, because the movies are like all 15 and 18 plus, and then you've got toddler time in the morning, which, don't get me wrong, that's great. That's great, because my little brother's been to your cinema more I've been, so that's great.
What about schools? Anything
schools
quickly?
I'd say probably like an after school club. It sounds a bit childish. After school club, and then before the youth zone opens, school transport to the youth zone, so it's easier.
That's a great shout.
Because they did that in my primary school.
It's contingent on the fact that you've probably got a youth zone. You know, it makes it easy. It's less conceptual if the school's in the Bolton, in the Wirral area, and the same thing. Riley, anything?
I just think schools should just like partner with the youth zones, so like go for a visit, or the youth zones should go into the schools, because that's what's happened at my school. The behaviour is like iffy, so all the ones with behaviour problems or struggling with the behaviour, up my youth zone goes in. They take them on trips, do activities.
What about cinemas? Anything on that?
And then just more affordable.
Yeah. Okay. Good. You know. There's a thing. I'm going to give Phil the final word, but before I finish, I'd like you to give these wonderful human beings the biggest round of applause possible. Thank you. I'll let Phil finish because he wants to take the copy of the guide, and I'll leave you.
Thanks very much. So yeah, on your chairs, you'll find lots of information, some around the CPCA, but also the green-fronted document is a little mini guide to good engagement with young people, if that's important for your roles, or if you want to find out a few top tips for how to engage successfully with young people. And that guide is everything that we do at Onside has been co-produced with young people. So hopefully very reliable source of info. There's also contact details in there if you wanted to find out more about youth zones, particularly if you can or are interested in finding out how to support our vision to bring the Onside model to Peterborough in the future. Please do get in touch.
Thank you, Phil. If you've enjoyed today, my name is Dennis Jones. If you haven't, it's Phil Worthington, okay? Thank you very much. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you for coming.